Okay, folks, good afternoon for the fourth one in a row from me. You're getting sick and tired of hearing from me on a Tuesday. Just give me a thumbs up if you can actually see the title there. You can? Great. So this is all about, like it says, getting more from your day. We have some new people, so it's important. Oh, yes, as we wait for the computer to wake up. Here we go. Right. You understand that any of the training I do does not have rainbows or unicorns. It is all based on stuff you can take away straight away after this session and start applying and using in your business. There will be no discussions of asymmetrical disposition of marketing assets or any of the other stuff that some of my consultant friends do. Who am I? Those of you who know me know I've been around for a while, at 30 plus years as a C-suite executive in Southeast Asia and here in Australia across a dozen different industries. Before that, I was a lecturer, visiting lecturer in business at a couple of unis. And before that, I was a high school teacher. And the last 12 years I've spent as a business coach, largely because I can't find a term that really sticks for what I do. So I coach, I mentor, I advise, I'm a strategist, there's a whole heap of stuff. Bottom line is you're in pretty good hands. Now, one thing that we all face and that we all want to do is we want to get shit done. We want to get things done every single day. And if you're running a business, especially if you're running a business as a solopreneur, as an entrepreneur, or just as a small business person, most of that falls on you. Even if you've got a team, whether you've got one person or five, you wear the hat. And this is normally what your day looks like. There's things everywhere. Do I take a break? Do I make money? How do I get offline? Wait, hang on, who do I talk? I've got to stop and breathe. I don't know what to do. This is what happens. And in fact, your daily dilemma is often like this. What the hell do I do first and where do I go? So here's something for you to take on board and write it down and use it somewhere else. And it's this thing. Very simply, in structure lies freedom, right? People shy away from structuring their business and their days and whatnot. And I'm not saying you have to be done to every single minute. But the key thing is you need to understand is the more structured your business is, the easier it is to run it. And the easier it is to keep track of your time and your sanity. To start off with, we've got to go back and do some of the basics. And the thing is, you'll hear some of these things and you'll go, yeah, I know that. I know all that. Geoff, what are you talking about? But I've got to tell you that very few of you, if we're honest, are going to be able to put your hand on your heart and go, yeah, I'm doing it. So the basics, here we go. And again, as we freeze up, first thing you need to do is look.
We just lost Geoff.
I can see him, but I can't hear him.
And does he know he's talking to himself?
Geoff, you're on mute.
Yeah, we just lost your sound, Geoff.
I'll ring him.
Don't you just love technology?
Just speak, if you will, Geoff, so we can see if we can hear you.
Right, how's that going?
There you go. Hey!
Okay, so now we'll dive back to where I was and we'll get back on track. Okay, well, that's not where we were. All right, hang on. Right. Let's try that one more time, third time for luck. And here we go. Thumbs up. Are we back at the beginning? Can everyone see that? Terrific.
Here we go.
Now let me just flick through to where I was. So I'm saying in structure lies freedom. I'm also saying that you need to cover the basics, and most of us don't cover the basics. And one of the main basics we need to be looking at is how the hell do we deal with email? I don't know about you, but I average 260, 270 emails a day. A lot of that's my own fault because I have a lot of marketing things, but a lot of it is just absolute crap. Now, I could spend all day dealing with email. And if I do that, what happens is my job then becomes dealing with email, which is what other people need me to do, and doing very little for my clients, my business, or even my family. So what I do is I batch my email. I tend to do email twice a day. I look at it round about 10:30 or 11 a.m. in the morning, and then I'll revisit it at 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon. And that's pretty much the only times that I will get into email. So if you send me something at 12:30 expecting an immediate response, you're 4 hours away from the next time I'm opening my email. So very, very smart thing to do is pick 2 times a day of 30 minutes to 45 to an hour where you do nothing but email, and you be ruthless with email. If it's something that doesn't help you get your business close to where you want it to go, delete it. If it's a marketing email which has lost its allure, which has lost its usefulness to you, delete it, get rid of it. They'll come back to you, they'll find you eventually. But email you have to be ruthless with. The other thing you have to do to get more out of your day is you've got to look after yourself. Now, some of us are, work a lot in offices, some of us are out and about. I understand that. But the key thing is, if you're an office worker, if you spend a lot of time at a desk, get up and move. You need to be moving probably every half hour. So if it's just 5 minutes, get up and do a stretch, walk outside your office, go to the kitchen, go to the cafeteria, whatever it is, and come back again. That alone is going to help you avoid a lot of the back problems, the shortening of your hip flexors, your psoas muscle, and all that sort of stuff. So move, and if you need to, set an alarm for it. The other thing is hydrate. The only thing in the world your body treats like water is water. You can have as many cups of green tea as you like, as many bottles of Diet Coke or sparkling mineral water, but the only thing your body treats like water is water. So hydrate. There's a discussion whether 8 glasses a day has got any scientific backing or not. I'd simply say if you try and have a couple of litres a day on top of your coffee, your tea, your Diet Coke, your red wine, or whatever else, that's a pretty good start. Science has proven that when we're not hydrated, we think slower, we move slower, and we are less effective. The other thing to do is, we've all got this, it's called magic time. It's that time of the day when we're at the top of our game. It's that time of the day when we feel energized. It's that time of the day where we can take on multiple things and get them doing. Now, for some people, that might be in the morning. For some people, it's the middle of the day. Some people, it's mid-afternoon or even later. The key thing is, you know you better than anyone else. So what you have to do is, when is your magic time? Because that's the best time to put in the most challenging tasks you have to do in your day. So if your magic time is, say, 7 a.m. in the morning, then great. If you're up and about at 7 a.m. in the morning, that's when you challenge the most. That's when you do the most challenging task in your day. If it happens to be at 11 o'clock mid-morning, then that's when you do it. But unless you take some time to identify when you feel at your mental and physical best during the day, and it will be different for all of us, then you will often find you're doing the challenging work when you're not at your peak, which means it gets harder and harder to do. The weekly, no, not the one with Charlie Pickering, although it's fantastic. And if you've never watched it, you should watch it because it's a great take on Australian and global news. I'm talking about the Sunday planning one. Those of you who've known me for a while, those of you who work with me know I say every Sunday you should sit down for somewhere between 30, 45 or 60 minutes with a glass of red wine or a cup of tea, whatever your particular favourite tipple is, and do this. Spend 15 minutes reviewing last week. What was the good? What was the bad? What was the ugly for last week? Then decide what items from last week you didn't get to, you're going to pull forward to the week that's coming up, and then put your meetings in, and I'll talk about squeezing your meeting, but put any meetings that you know coming up are in, and then look at the rest of the things you want to accomplish for that week, assign them to specific days to look at. And last of all, do your first 5 by 5 for the week. A 5 by 5, I'll go into more detail in a couple of slides, but simply that's where you choose the 5 things you'll have done by 5 p.m. the day. And at 5 o'clock on that night, you have the joy of putting a line through all 5 things, and you pick 5 things to do the next day by 5 p.m. We'll go through that. The other thing you should do is use a planner diary or a day sheet or a schedule, whatever you want to call it. Now, this one is just one I pulled up from the internet. I actually just use a straight stenographer's notebook, but nonetheless, and I've got a strategic diary beside me that I use on Sundays where I fill in all the bits and bobs and goals and things I need to do. But a simple one-pager like this is great for a couple of reasons. One is, if you're not sure where you spend your time, if you were to start writing your time in every half hour, what you do every day for a week, you would be amazed at how much crap time you're spending, how much wasted time you've got, so you can make some adjustments. But you'll see this particular form has got my top 5 to do. So there's your 5x5 on a form in front of you. The meals thing, I'm not such a big plan about. I mean, if you're intermittent fasting, you're not eating until lunchtime or later anyway. That's entirely up to you. Exercise, yes. I mean, I try and do something every day for half an hour or more. And notes, stuff to do. Bottom line is you should have something on your desk that enables you to keep track of your day or tell you what's coming up next. Which brings me to my favorite, the 5x5. Now, your 5x5, as I said, is 5 things you'll have done by 5 p.m. the following day without fail. Now, this can be a single list, which is a mixture of business and personal stuff, or it can be, if you're good, it can be a business list and a personal list. The trick to either setup is that it's not full of huge things. You don't write on there, create a brand new website and business in one day. Not going to happen, but it might be putting down things that are going to help you move closer to achieving a specific goal in your business. So it should be a mix of challenging and easy things. You can put on there, pick up the dry cleaning. That's something that you need to do. You can put something on there, return an important phone call. It might be write a marketing letter. It might be ringing up a client, whatever it is. But write down the 5 things that you will have done by 5 p.m. the following day without fail. And as I said, you can do a mixed list, a business only, or a business and personal. It's entirely up to you. I personally do a mixed list of 5x5. Why do we do this? Human beings need 2 things every single day. They need to have had a laugh, and they need to finish the day with a sense of accomplishment. The 5x5 allows you to finish every single working day with a sense of accomplishment, because at 5 o'clock, you sit down and you put a line through all 5 things and you've accomplished those. The next step is probably, what I do is you do a brain dump of all the things that need to get done, and you pick 5 things to be done the next day, put them in your list, and then you finish work. Now, that's the other part that's important with it. Psychologically, it closes off your day. It does not leave any open loops in your head. So you're not waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning going, oh, I forgot to do this. Your subconscious mind knows you've done a brain dump, you've picked 5 things, and that's what you're doing tomorrow. So your day's already got shape and form to it. Relax. Another thing you can do is a thing called a MIA. Now, I'm old enough to remember a Chuck Norris movie called MIA, which was many, many years ago, but it stands for most impactful activity. If you don't want to do 5x5s and you're not a fan of to-do lists and all that sort of thing, what you do, you should still do your Sunday planning, but what you do on Sunday is you plan out and identify what is the most impactful activity you can do on each day that's going to help bring your business closer to the goals you want to achieve. Now, that might be on Mondays, that might be returning phone calls. It might be making 6 phone calls. It might be updating your LinkedIn profile. It might be chasing people. It doesn't matter what it is. You decide what's the most impactful activity you can be doing in your business on a daily basis for the week that you're planning, that's going to help shift your business closer to achieving the goals you want. So that's called a MIA. Do that. There's 2 schools of thought here. First thing in the morning is you do a thing that Brian Tracy calls eat the frog. That's where you pick the largest, the ugliest, the thing you don't want to do most of all, and you do it first. Why? Because it gets it out the way. You feel stronger and more resilient, and you feel flexed. Now, that can work if you've got a lot of discipline, or you can do the other one. You can start with the small things and build a sense of momentum. So you build up the energy and the focus and the positivity to tackle the frog. It's entirely up to you which one works for you. I tend to prefer eating the frog, but there are days where I wake and I just don't feel like eating the frog. I've got to build up some momentum first. So I start with smaller things and do that. They've proven that most people, when they work, they say we work 8 hours. And if you're a small business owner, that's a laugh because you probably do 12 or more. But the thing is, we actually don't do that. They've proven that most people work, especially employees, generate somewhere between 2 and 4 hours of work a day. They get paid for 8, but you generate meaningful work of 2 to 4 hours a day. So here's a thing called the 9-box method you can use. Get a piece of paper and draw 9 boxes on it. Each box represents 20 minutes out of your day. Choose 9 things that you're going, the most important things you want to accomplish in a given day. This can be used instead of your 5x5. It's a bit more challenging, or your 5x5 can be fitted in this. If something that you're looking at doing is going to take 40 minutes, then you fill in 2 boxes for it. 60 minutes, 3 boxes for it. But each day you can do this. And I prefer, I've got clients who do this of an evening where they sit down at 5 o'clock. They don't do a 5x5, they do a 9 box, and they figure out the 9 things or the 3 hours worth of work they're going to get done, because that's exactly what the 9 boxes represents. It's 3 hours out of your work day. Does that mean you've got to do 3 hours in a row? No, you can do the first 20 minutes, go do something else, come back and do another 20 minutes, spread through the day. But the key thing is this is a way of capturing and helping you to focus on doing the most important tasks that are going to help you move your business forward. So it isn't a task list, it's a list of the most important 3 hours in any day that you're setting aside for critical work. So the 9 box method. You can do a thing called a compression session. People that are, most of us are good at maybe 40 minutes to an hour just working, focused on something. Good people do 90 minutes, and anyone who does longer than 90 minutes is probably superhuman. But a compression session is somewhere between 45 and 90 minutes. And what you do is, when you're doing your planning on a Sunday, is you pick it, and you know your magic time, you pick out 2 or 3 slots during your week where you mark out 45 to 90 minutes, and you use it as a compression session to work on that one thing that you need to get done in your business, which seems to get pushed to the back of the pile as other things get in the way. It might be rewriting your website, which is a big task, but won't ever happen unless you select time for it. And the compression session works really well. The compression session also works extremely well if you've got a clock and you can time yourself. I use one of these things, okay? They're a simple little clock. They were designed and created by a primary school teacher, and theirs was a 1-foot square clock that sat on the wall. And when she gave the primary school kids a task, she'd set it so they could look up and see how much longer they got. It increased their focus. I can't remember the name of them, but if you look and get them from Amazon, they're 30 or 40 bucks for a desktop size. I use a desktop size. If any of you can see me, I use one that size. And I use that either for compression sessions, or I use that to remind me to get off my backside and move. Sometimes I just use it to set 60 minutes where I can just focus on the one task. But it's important you do that. You can use your phone, of course, you can set times there, but there's something about this particular style of clock which has the visible, because the red goes all the way round to 60 minutes, and then the white starts coming back as the hour clicks round. So having that visual cue works really well. The next thing you can do is squeeze your week. If you squeeze your week, we've talked about this before, it's where you work your calendar so that if you're someone who does a lot of phone calls or a lot of meetings, the very first meeting that you set for the week is the last slot on Wednesday afternoon. And then you do the second last slot, the third last slot, until you fill Wednesday from afternoon to morning. You do the same thing for Tuesday. You do the same thing for Thursday. Friday is different. Friday, you fill from the morning up, and hopefully you finish at lunchtime so you can take an early mark. And Monday, you fill from lunchtime to evening, because you might want to sleep in or start early, or if possible, you don't use it at all. In the program I run with some clients called No More Fridays, we use this squeeze the week thing to make sure that every weekend's a long weekend, along with some other stuff we do operationally. But it means either a Friday or Monday is something where they are not locked into meetings or things like that. But you'll be amazed, because what happens is we have open calendars and we end up accepting appointments and meetings with people all over the place. Again, research has proven that every time you make a phone call, it takes you 25 minutes to get back to what you were doing before mentally, all right? It's even longer for a Zoom call. So if you're someone who relies a lot on phone appointments or Zoom meetings and whatnot, it's best if you try and chop them together into Wednesday, Tuesday, and Thursday to keep control over your time. Okay. Said it earlier, go for a walk. Get up every half hour, every 40 minutes, at least once an hour. Get up and walk to the kitchen, or if you can, if you're lucky enough, get outside and walk around the block. I've worked with a guy at Telstra named Ian Clark, and he religiously used to gather up all his crew, because the office we were working, at lunchtime, and we'd walk out, we'd buy lunch, and we'd walk for 40 minutes to an hour, and then we come back to the office. So he was big on the lunchtime walk. I figure if you're working from home, set an alarm, use that little clock and get up and walk every 40 minutes, half an hour or something. It needs 5 minutes, but that's what we need to do.
We
Okay.
certainly do need to do that, Geoff.
Just
Thanks
a-
very much for a great session, by the way.
No worries. Very last slide, take a selfie, book some meetings with yourself and use them to think about your business. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Geoff. Okay, we haven't got too much time for questions. What I was going to suggest, the questions that you have, get in touch with Geoff, message him and have a discussion with him and pick up. So did everyone get a lot out of that session today?
Yep, absolutely.
Always gold.
Excellent.
Oh,
Thanks
There's
very
a
much,
link for a
Geoff.
chat in the chat if people would like to have a chat with me.
Okay, you might like to put that to everybody. I think it only just came to me.
It's because you were telling me to hurry up, wasn't it?
Because usually we don't have a member spotlight, and today we do, but Jay's also got his what the session. So
No.
over to you,
yes,
Jay.
I've not been here for about 6 weeks. So what do you reckon we've done? All right. So can we stop there?